Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. Ali Corman, Ed Carson here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, where technology stocks were clearly in the lead once again today, Ed.
That's right. While financials and energy had a little bit of trouble for various reasons, Nvidia skyrocketed today. Applied materials may no longer be playing Possum, and don't forget about some industrials like Crane.
Okay, well, we won't, Ed, with the help from you. First, let's take a look at the NASDAQ composite here, adding on 0.8% today. We had the S&P 500 up 0.4% on the downside. Big caps, the blue chips rather, and small caps, blue chips down about 0.1%, the Russell down about 0.2%. So the NASDAQ is really looking pretty unstoppable at this point, Ed, getting awfully close to that 16,000 level, but with so many up days in a row. And now how far above the 50-day line are we looking like the odds are saying we could be due for a little bit of a rest at this point?
I mean, the odds are rising. I think the NASDAQ closed, right around 6% above the 50-day line, because that's saying 5.8. Add a couple more tenths to that, and we get to 6%. The Qs, which is the ETF for the NASDAQ 100, I think that's 6.7%. When you get above 6%, especially 7%, then you start really raising the risk of a pullback. It doesn't have to happen right away, and the pullback doesn't have to be that big. I mean, you could have a couple days down modestly. The 50-day catches up somewhat, and all of a sudden you don't look extended. So when we talk about being extended, it's not like this panic thing, but it's something to be aware of. It's like, how much do you want to be buying now if the market comes back a little ways and all of a sudden your stocks could hit a little bit, but for those who have been riding up, just sitting in your position, a minor pullback could actually be good. You could get some buying opportunities in some of these leaders that have been running up and really haven't offered many chances to buy in the last few weeks.
Yeah, some follow-on buy points would be welcome. And let's also take a look at the S&P 500, Dow, and Russell. And maybe there are people out there, man, why do you look at these same charts day after day after day if there isn't really much new to say? Because S&P 500 here too, we're continuing to rise here, still above that 4,600 level. Another up day in a row here. The Dow also in new high ground, down a little bit today, but above 36,000. But IWM, I think this goes to show you that if you really routinely keep track of all the different indexes and even sector ETFs as well, that helps you spot new entries and new trends. And even though the Russell did dip a little bit today, I think it's a key development in small caps this week that we've been tracking.
Yeah, really strong action. Today's action, okay, it's down a little bit, but that's really nothing. And I think it's a really good point. I mean, look, you should always be looking at these kind of charts, looking at charts all the time. A lot of the time, there won't be anything really, and you can look at it and go, okay, and then move on. And we're going to move on now, but it's like it's important to do that, because if you don't do that, then you are going to miss these things when they finally do happen.
Yeah, because with the follow through day, we noticed that was the opportunity to start wading back into the market, and some of these leading stocks that only give you a small window of opportunity to get in.
That's exactly right.
And chips also showed a lot of strength today. So look at this Van Eck Semiconductor ETF SMH really waking up here today in a big way, Ed, with a gain of 4%.
Yeah, and we're going to look at a couple of the reasons why, but there were a lot of stocks for their individual reasons had things surging out there. So big run. This looks like a leveraged ETF or just an individual stock having a good day. I mean, that's a huge move for this index, which does have big moves, but man, that is quite a vertical leap.
And extended now, you could have bought when we got the breakout above this 276 area. However, we've said that we do like the earlier entries. So maybe those who were able to draw the trend line, the SMH got back above its 50-day line and this declining tops trend line on the 19th of October. So not too long after we saw that follow through day. So that gives you just even more cushion versus buying today. We could see a normal pullback here, and investors who bought today potentially could get shaken out a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's always the risk when you're buying that high up.
Okay, and now let's take a look at some of those underlying factors. One being Nvidia, NVDA, finishing the day up 12%. Some heavy volume behind the move, up over 16% or so at one point in the day, getting above that 300 level, but still a very strong move for a stock that has earnings in 2 weeks and moving on some metaverse buzz today.
Yeah, it looks like Nvidia is already deciding who needs reality. It's almost in virtual reality itself. I mean, am I going to say, yeah, there was a Wells Fargo analyst who said Nvidia next Tuesday is probably going to unveil something called Omniverse Enterprise, and that'll be something to help companies build out metaverse applications. Obviously, there's Facebook, which is now Meta Platforms. Microsoft is talking about doing it. So we'll see how much of it is and how much that'll pay off. But they may be using a lot of GPUs from Nvidia. And my goodness, look at that RS line. I mean, the NASDAQ has been rising quite a bit, and the S&P too, and that's what it's versus. The S&P is not going at a slow pace, and yet the RS line is rising almost vertical, and not just today. It has been a huge run over this month.
It has, really flexing its leadership muscles. This is another one, Ed, that we were all over the action when it was getting back over the 50-day line, following up with clearing a trend line with that official breakout as well. So we'll have to keep tabs on this stock and see if it can retain the big gain from today, because we wouldn't want to see it give today's gain back in a quick, sharp fashion.
Yeah, and but if there is a pullback that's pause and it can rest for a few weeks, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Again, might provide a buying opportunity because it's obviously way beyond anything there. Another thing to mention is that, as you can see, it's beyond that green shaded area. It's now in the 8-week, what we call the 8-week hold area, is like 8 weeks from the breakout. So from a couple weeks ago, that would be week 1. The idea is that you don't want to get shaken out of something that might be a huge winner. Now, if the stock comes all the way or almost all the way back to your buy point, that's different. But the idea is that you should try to hold this kind of stock for 8 weeks from that breakout, and then reassess and decide whether or not you want to keep holding it from there.
Yes. And what about Applied Materials, another chip stock that we've been following, but this stock has been playing possum at least until today, with a lot of fake outs above the 142, 143 area, but now hitting new highs.
Yeah, and Bill and Neil used to talk about stocks. Sometimes it would be playing possum. So there's some people on Twitter who are doing that. And is it a possum? Is it a weasel? I have discussions with somebody on Twitter about that, because often it comes up. Oh, look, it's not playing possum anymore. Oh, it's just a weasel again, coming back down and shaking people up. But maybe today it's not a possum. It's not a weasel. It's just a strong growth stock. Maybe this is the trend here, because it's got good growth. And let me be clear. I've got a position in this now, but I had to bring it up partly because of the possum nature, and this is a breakout. So do what you will, keep that in mind. Volume is strong here. Sometimes those long consolidations are positive. It has been sitting out for a while. We'll have to see. Maybe this is the ultimate head fake that we're going to get, but it's there's definitely nice volume today.
It's a good point. I mean, we're early on in a power trend. We've seen a lot of breakouts and new buy points from leading stocks. So if these breakouts can really stick and launch new runs versus this rotation that we've seen, where we'll see breakouts quickly fail, or maybe they'll go up a little bit but then round trip. If we do see this change in tone, that could be a good sign for the market, but only time will tell. And last but not least, Ed, let's have you analyze Crane, which moved up last week on its earnings report, and it's been able to hold above that 100 level.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you can do with earnings gap, because you don't know, they can be really volatile, and you can see on that earnings gap, it was down, it closed sort of in the low in the range, and that's not the most positive sign. But often what will happen is it'll just, it'll rebound after that. It doesn't have to be low. It basically held its ground and is, moving around. It's trading right around a buy area. It's sort of making a consolidation, maybe shaking out some weak holders along the way. It's not a classic handle or anything. I mean, but it's sort of serving that kind of purpose. And I also just wanted to bring it up because, a lot of industrial type firms are doing well right now. And you want to be looking around for that rotations around, not saying that Crane is going to be the stock of the century. I'm just talking about that there's some other names in there. Ingersoll Rand broke out recently, and that's IR. There's ESI, which is a specialty chemicals maker. So there's some of these names out there that you should be aware of. Don't neglect them, because if they do, break out, you don't want to catch up, like, it's getting late to be buying Nvidia unless it has some kind of pullback or another base. But you want to be looking around for, other buying opportunities. So don't neglect sectors. Just keep on looking through all your screens and let the charts tell you where to go.
Great point, Ed. Thank you so much for that analysis. And make sure, if you are a Swing Trader subscriber or trialist, that you head on over to swingtrader.investors.com, because we have our monthly scorecard webinar coming up here in just about 15 minutes or so. So I will see you all over there along with Justin and Chris. And we will see you back tomorrow morning on IBD Live, where we will be joined by Charles Harris, who he has said he's been doing a lot of swing trading this year. We'll have to see about an update from him on the stocks that he's following. So make sure you tune into IBD Live tomorrow morning, investors.com/IBD Live for that. And we'll see you right back here tomorrow after the close.